We're going to do our presentation.
Sure.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen Shara. I'm the Climate Smart Communities Coordinator for the town of Hurley. Climate Smart is a volunteer organization. We're a subcommittee of the CAC, and our goal is to basically help the town reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and help prepare for climate change. Yeah, you want to go ahead and. The owl is looking at my nose. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about the NYSERDA grant challenge that we've undertaken, and the point is that we are promoting 3 community campaigns, and they are to help us to transition away from fossil fuels. They provide incentives.
Kristen, if it's easier so you can see it, you can either lift the mic out or turn the whole thing.
Why don't you put it in a presentation though?
You actually put it in the PowerPoint.
I don't know what
Yeah.
you're.
Go back to the email. Click on the email itself. And then click on that and download it.
There, you can open it with the Google
Google
Slides.
Slides, right?
Yeah, that's what I had.
No.
So that's the takes a minute.
The closed captioning doesn't come on when you have the remote.
I don't think so, Mike. That's.
Slideshow, yeah.
That's Google Slides.
Can you see it?
Over to the
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I watch soccer.
It's not bad for Google.
Okay, yeah, just back up to the beginning, maybe.
Here, there we are. Page 2 is good.
Yeah, we could go to page 2, slide 2.
Oh,
Okay, so here's our 3 options or 3 campaigns that we're running. Community solar signups, heat pump installations, and electric vehicle purchases or leases. And so the idea is if 50 residents or businesses in Hurley sign up for community solar, for example, and we document that, we can submit an application for a $10,000 grant from NYSERDA, and that grant would come to the town of Hurley. And similar for heat pump installations or electric vehicle purchases or leases. So what we need from you is, if you do any of these or all of them, if you could email us at climatesmart@townofhurley.org and let us know. There is a flyer that has the details on this, and there are also details on this program that are going to be in the town newsletter in March.
It's also on the website already.
And it's on that website. And we also have a website, climatesmarthurley.org, which I encourage you to visit, and the details are there as well. Okay. So what I'd like to do today is I've invited, well, let's go to the next slide, sorry. So just to let you know, there's $25 million available statewide for this program. Sounds like a lot of money, but we are actually competing against all the other towns and cities in New York State for this grant money. And when it's gone, it's gone. So the sooner that we can accumulate these signups and purchases and report them and apply for the grant, probably the better. So now what I'd like to do is I've invited Tom Konrad, who is the chair of the Marbletown Environmental Conservation Commission and an energy coach for New Yorkers for Clean Power. And he's going to talk a little bit more about how to transition away from fossil fuels, and specifically about heat pumps. So I know there are a lot of questions about that. So thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so I just want to talk about why you might want to transition to heat pumps other than getting the town a couple grants, which is good enough reason. So especially if you were heating with fuel oil or propane, it costs considerably less to heat with a heat pump or do your hot water with a heat pump. This campaign, if you did geothermal, air source heat pumps, or a heat pump water heater, any of those counts towards the campaign. Next, but if you don't plan on doing it and your boiler breaks, usually the first thing is, especially if it's the middle of the winter, you're going to end up getting a new boiler because that's what the paradigm has. So it's important to make a plan first so that you know if you're getting to that place, this is the way to do it most cost effectively. If you just rip out a new boiler, that's a lot of money down. But if you make a plan ahead, you know what's about to break and you place it now, it'll not only save you money up front, but it'll save you even more ongoing. So yeah, we follow. Next slide. Yeah. Last, yeah. You skipped one, I think. There we are. There wasn't one in there? Okay. Well, I'll just go with word. Next. This will work. Okay, so when you're making a plan for the whole fossil fuel thing, not just heat pumps, but in general, I'm focusing on heat pumps. The best thing to do is just inventory what you have that uses fossil fuels and figure out what the replacements. We'll focus on the things, the heat pumps, because heat pumps are the two biggest users of energy in any household in New York, are typically heating, and then the next one is transportation. The third is hot water, which is also qualifies for the heat pump. Next slide, thanks. But so we start with those things and then just have the solution for each of the things that uses it, with emphasis on the solution, the things that are about to break, if you want to keep it most cost effective. So here's just an example of putting that together. Okay, I use this much fuel oil. This is when is my boiler going to break? Where's my heat coming from? Do I have an auxiliary boiler? Am I going to have to replace the hot water heater at the same time? When I do a new home solution, I look at my car, I look at my gas stove, and it gives you an estimate of the priorities. You want to prioritize what's breaking first and what uses a lot of energy so you can save some money on that. Next slide, please. Go ahead. So AC and heat pumps. So the one thing about heat pumps, if you've heard bad things about heat pumps, the bad thing that you've probably heard is that it doesn't work when it gets really cold. That is partly true. If you have a poorly insulated building in our climate, an air source heat pump has a lot of trouble keeping up. If you have a well-insulated building, you can still be comfortable. So heat pumps are not as good at generating a ton of heat really fast. And on really cold days, you're losing more heat, especially if you have a drafty building. So you need to address insulation first, unless that's already been done in your home. You want to go get a free home energy assessment from NYSERDA and deal with it. I have a picture of icicles here because that's another way to tell your home is leaking a ton of heat through the roof. If you have a bunch of icicles or ice dams, that's a sign of heat loss, because that heat loss is going up, melted snow. Let's go to the next slide after this one. Great. Okay, so the most common heat pump you'll see is an air source heat pump. They look like this. They're basically an air conditioner that can also work in the reverse. They have these mini splits where you just see the interior one, but they also have ones that are ducted like a standard home air conditioner if you already have ducts. It's a very cost-effective way to electrify your home, especially if your air conditioner is about to break. So the time you replace a ducted air conditioner is not when your furnace breaks, but when your air conditioner breaks. So even if you still have the furnace, that's the time to plan for. Next slide, please.
And then you could kick that furnace on a really cold day. You could still.
You could.
You have the furnace still. You can still run. Yeah,
there's one reason not to do that, which is that the Central Hudson rebates are larger if you get rid of your furnace. They designed that because they don't want people to just put in the heat pump for air conditioning. Although they give you there's an in between stage where if you put in a special thermostat that automatically switches back and forth, you can keep both, but it's not quite as big a rebate. Geothermal is the best option if you have a historic home that you can't insulate well, like the brick homes or a very large home. Geothermal works like an air source heat pump. It's also called a ground source heat pump. Instead of taking heat in and out of the house to the outside air, it takes heat in and out of the house to the ground. And so it doesn't have the problem on really cold days because the ground doesn't get cold. They are, however, much more expensive to install. And that's why they're typically not the solution for most people. But if you have a very hard to deal with home that you can't insulate it, it's an option. It can produce some hot water. It is more efficient, but it's just upfront cost versus the over economics. Some people also like them for aesthetics. You don't have those exterior units. And it does have a bigger tax credit. And if you don't have room to drill wells. Next slide, please. The heat pump water heater is especially important for this campaign because with the current credits available, you can get a new one installed for nearly free and definitely for less than an electric water heater. So Central Hudson has a $1,000 rebate, and there's a federal $2,000 tax credit up to 30%, but that's 30% before the $1,000 rebate. As you can see, you can buy one at Lowe's for $1,700. Install, any plumber and electrician can do it. So maybe $1,000. So $3,000, you're going to get $1,000 off from the federal tax credit and $1,000 from Central Hudson. And it is the third biggest energy user for most households. So it pays for itself very quickly, especially if you have, say, 4 people in that household. That's one of those things in a larger household, it's one of those things you'd replace even before it's time for the old one to go, just because they're so cost effective. Next slide, please. The tax credit, by the way, is unfortunately the same tax credit for the air source heat pumps. So it's capped at $2,000 per year. So if you do both, you're only going to get $2,000 unless you spread it out over 2 years. Next slide, please. Here's a list of a lot of financial incentives. We can't go through all of them, but there are lots. Great site for that is rewiringamerica.org. Next slide, please. NYSERDA has some low-cost loans. They have extra cash back on electric vehicles. And then there are a lot of rebates that are administered through Central Hudson as well, mostly for the home improvements. Next slide, please. And since I can't fit everything you need to know into 20 minutes, as Kristen said, I am an energy coach for New Yorkers for Clean Power. If you go to nyforcleanpower.org, go to the coaching, you can sign up for a free 45-minute coaching session. There's me, we have a couple EV experts if you're looking to buy an EV. And we talk you through what's right for your home, what's right for, or for your driving habits if you're looking at EVs, and can cover a lot of things more than heat pumps too. It just sort of tailors to you. A lot of people really give me feedback that they like to have someone who isn't trying to sell them something, give them feedback on that. And I cover a lot of things that aren't covered by these rebates too. You know, if you really want to know about the latest electric robotic lawnmower, I like raving about mine, and it's a good option. Next, I think that's it. Next slide. We also have another source of coaching. Next slide. The MidHudsonEnergyChoices.com. This is a state-sponsored program through Cornell Cooperative Extension. They do something similar. They'll really focus on, especially if you're low or moderate income, they're really good at helping you figure out the programs that can help, the state programs that can help you pay for it. And Q&A, but make sure, so especially with heat pumps, if you install a heat pump, which means air source heat pump, geothermal or a heat pump water heater, make sure Kristen knows. If you do it through a coaching session with me, I'll make sure she knows too. If you sign up with community solar, same thing. And with actually an EV, you don't have to tell her. I can show you how to get that through the registration data. And you can also talk to the building department about those heat pumps too. But that should cover it. And here's the contact information. I'll take questions if the board thinks you have time.
We have time.
Okay.
Is there anybody questions from the audience?
How do we sign up for community solar?
Signing up for community solar, the easiest way to do it is if you have an online Central Hudson account, go to the Central Hudson website, save energy and money, community solar. They'll give you a list of solar farms to sign up with. Basically, the deal is always the same. They give you Central Hudson bill credits on your bill, size to be about what you use. They charge you 90% of the value of those bill credits. So they give you a $100 credit on your bill. They charge you $90. If you find one that says consolidated billing, which is what I recommend, both the charge and the credit appear right on the Central Hudson bill. So it's after you sign up, you don't even have to think about it. You just have a smaller Central Hudson bill. Yes?
The subject of our next meeting will be all about community solar. And we'll have step-by-step.
But if you understood me, sign up now because it saves you money. Right?
If you're on budget billing with Central Hudson and you sign up for a solar farm, will it connect?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know how it interfaces, but you will be saving money. How it changes your monthly payment, I don't know, but the direction will be that way.
Also if you have an EV vehicle or a hybrid, anything that's plugged in, you can contact Central Hudson. They'll give you a lower rate for any kind of electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid. I have that plan.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, there's a special EV rate. There's actually two different EV rates right now, which is I'm on the time of use, but there's a new one called Smart Charge.
So last time I checked with Central Hudson, you have to kind of do off-peak charging, and you have to have a certain percent of your electric usage that way. Otherwise, it bites you.
That's the time of use, but there's a new one called Smart Charge, which doesn't do that. The savings are slightly smaller, but there's no downside.
That's the one.
However, it only works with certain chargers and certain electric vehicles that Central Hudson can talk to so that they can track it. So not everyone with an EV can do it. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.